Giving you.
Good morning. We'll call this meeting of the Bucks County Board of Commissioners of March 17, 2021 to order. In a moment, we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, but I would ask that we also remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of all of the lives lost to COVID over the past year, and in honor and gratitude to those who have worked so hard to help us all get through this past year. And in keeping with the March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, Pete McElroy, who tells us he is 74% Irish, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Your microphone on?
We are going to begin today, with a presentation by Rachel Neff and Kathy Bennett, and this has to do with our senior centers, and we are going to be trying some technology ourselves today, so we're all hoping we have that luck of the Irish.
Good morning, and thank you, Commissioner Marseglia. We're very fortunate to be here today, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak briefly about what we think is an important program that has benefited Bucks County seniors. So the Senior Connect program was really intended to think about ways to provide technology to support seniors during the pandemic, because one of the results of the pandemic was that there were multiple closures, people couldn't go out, and for our seniors, that meant that our senior centers, which we have a number of throughout Bucks County, had to close. So Kathy Bennett, who is our fantastic director of the Area on Aging, and her team put together some creative thinking to really strategize how we could utilize technology, partnering with a few of our senior centers, thinking about partnerships with Comcast, Bucks County Community College, with volunteers, and other individuals, so that seniors who could no longer show up at the actual senior centers would be able to connect via a tablet or an iPad or some type of device so that they could still stay engaged in the activities that the senior centers were offering. So this was something we're very appreciative of the commissioners for allowing us to utilize some of the CARES funding for this back in the summer. And as a result of this, what you're going to hear today, and Kathy's going to talk a little bit more before we actually zoom into some of the seniors who are directly benefiting from this, is you'll see ways that our seniors throughout Bucks County were able to actually stay connected with activities and meaningful relationships in their lives, and get the support and services they needed during this time in a pandemic where isolation was a huge factor for a number of individuals. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy, and then we hope to be zooming into the Bristol Township Senior Center, who is led by Bonnie Worth, and she's been a fantastic partner in this as well.
Thank you. And as Rachel was saying, that it's not only the fact that they couldn't get out to senior centers, but so many things very rapidly turned to online technology. So there was telehealth, and there was grocery shopping that you could do online, and of course visitation with family and friends that a lot of seniors just had no ability to do. And we found out very quickly that we needed to really have three areas that we were addressing. So the one area is that a number of seniors just don't even have internet service. So we needed to find a partner, and fortunately Comcast was willing to work with us with their Internet Essentials program to get internet set up for individuals that didn't have this. And then secondly was, okay, now you have internet, but do you have the equipment you need? So our partners did a lot of work and a lot of time to come up with what would be the best devices to utilize. And so we ended up purchasing tablets through our CARES funds in order to assist these seniors to have that equipment. And then it's great you have the equipment, but do I know how to use it? I mean, I have a 16-year-old at home, so that's my go-to, but I don't know, if a senior is isolated, they may not have that. So we worked with the community college, with the senior centers, and volunteers through the AAA, and were able to find folks that were able to provide both some in-person learning at the senior centers with, of course, precautions, but then also to be able to do phone calling and some other ways to communicate that information to them. So I could go on for about another hour, and I know that would make your day, but instead of doing that, I really do want you to have the opportunity to talk to a couple of the seniors that have benefited from this program. So I don't know if we're ready at that end, but I do want to introduce you to Dottie Wurst and Pat Berkut. They are seniors at the Bristol Township Senior Center, and along with Bonnie Worth, who is the manager, has been working very hard in order to get this program up and running. And so we just want to ask them a couple of questions, mainly about their experience with this project.
So we see their ceiling,
Yeah, their ceiling is great.
so we know we're connected. There we go. Hi, good morning.
Hi, Pat. How are you?
Good, thank you. How about you?
Good, thank you. Are you by yourself, or is anybody else with you? Is Dottie?
John's here.
Okay.
Ronnie's here.
Okay, great. So just wanted to ask you, Pat, a few questions about what internet capabilities or technology capability you had prior to this project and how you're using it now that you've had that connection.
I had none. I had internet in my house because of my grandchildren, but I didn't have access to a computer or anything. And this has really changed my life. I mean, thank you to you and to Bonnie for doing this because it's so wonderful. I've learned so much. I feel like I'm smart now.
You are indeed. That's true. What kind?
Teaching them all new tricks, you know?
What kind of programs are you using?
Oh, I do all of them. I do Facebook. I create a room, talk to relatives. I go on Pinterest. YouTube. I love it. It's just a world all new to me. It's just so wonderful and so easy thanks to this little computer here.
And I understand that you use it to do some exercising too.
Yes, it has Tai Chi and anything you want. You can say yoga, chair yoga, and beginners, and it brings up all these pages of what you're asking them. It's wonderful. And you don't have to type or spell or anything like that. You just say it, And it's better than anything.
Thank you, Pat. And is Miss Dottie available?
There she is.
There she is. Hey, hi, Miss Dottie. How are you?
Good morning. I'm really good, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what you used to do before this program and then what you're able to do now. And make sure you tell them about solitaire. Okay, go ahead.
That's my downfall. Anyway, I wanted nothing to do with computers. I was happy if I want to talk to somebody, I'll call them up. And my kids would say, I'm getting a new computer, do you want my old one? I'd say, no, don't want anything to do with it. And then I got hooked up with Bonnie and Dee, and didn't tell any of my family because I wanted to surprise them and push the magic button and talk to them all, and they would fall down and faint. But they were surprised. But I did something and somebody saw it and they called my son and said, your mom's in trouble. Somebody's getting into her personal business. She was on the computer and he's saying, no parts of it. My nephew called me, my daughter called me, and I had to tell them, yes, it's me over there. And so much for being surprised. Didn't work out. But I do like it, but I do have problems. I have to leave the battery run down when I want to do something in my house. Because if I don't, I push the solitaire or the Facebook or whatever. I just have to leave the battery run down because I have absolutely no control over this little box. But I do love it.
Great. Thank you, Dottie.
I thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you so much. And thank you and Pat for your time. And if we can just see Bonnie and say hello to her, is she right there just to say Hello. I don't know if she's there, but hi, Bonnie. So Bonnie is the manager. She has done a phenomenal job at the Bristol Township Senior Center. And
Placement?
oh, those are the tablets that we purchased
Oh.
through the program. Yeah, great. And I also give a shout out to Bonnie Nace, who is from the Ben Salem Township Senior Center, because they're doing likewise. We really hope that we could expand this program. It would certainly take some more funding, and there may be a possibility of additional care funds or something else coming along, because we really would like to expand it out to the other senior centers and hit more seniors. But it's been a great program, so thanks for letting us
Oh, it's great.
tell you about it.
And Pat and Dottie and Bonnie, thank you. I think you did something for us for the first time. We haven't done this technology before, so here you helped us know that we would be able to Zoom in and out like this. What a great thing to be able to offer our seniors not to be so isolated in these times and to stay in touch. Commissioner Giad, go ahead.
Just real quick, thank the both of you. And there's an old saying that society or government will be judged by how they take care of their old people and how they take care of their young people. And I just think this is just a really good example of how we're taking care of our senior population here in Bucks County. I want to thank both of you for your hard work in doing this and for the hard work you do each and every day of the year in helping our seniors and all of our citizens access services. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can't say it any better. Thank you.
Yep, that was fun. Thank you very much. Okay. And next, Jeff Fields is here to talk to us a little bit about the latest in our rental assistance programs. So, good morning. And
good morning. Thanks, commissioners. As we recently passed the one-year mark of the start of the coronavirus pandemic, the impact on Bucks County renters continues to be felt. Even with various forms of eviction moratoriums still in effect, last year nearly 2,000 evictions were filed against Bucks County tenants, and over 500 have occurred just since the start of this year. The county responded at the start of the pandemic by mobilizing a broad coalition to respond to the crisis, utilizing federal CARES funding to support an expansion of our existing prevention efforts to include 2 additional nonprofits and to disperse over $2 million in assistance to assist our tenants and landlords. But the need continues. With the passing of the December 27th COVID relief bill, there has been a significant allocation of funds to eviction prevention efforts. For Bucks County, that is $18.7 million in assistance directly from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and another $22.6 million from the Department of Human Services, which is also allocated from the Department of Treasury. This is to be utilized for rental and utility assistance to prevent evictions. With this funding, Bucks County has established the Bucks Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or BERA. BERA is a partnership between the county and Housing Link partners, including the Bucks County Opportunity Council, the Bucks County Housing Group, the YWCA, and Legal Aid of Southeastern PA. The BERA program provides rental and utility assistance to eligible Bucks tenants impacted by COVID-19. Both tenants and landlords are encouraged to apply, and either party can start the application. To promote the broadest access to the resource, the county worked with Neighborly Software to create an online portal that can be accessed via computer or smartphone 24/7. Through this portal, the entire application can be done electronically, and it starts with accessing the application at www.buckscounty.org/renthelp. Next slide. Yeah, oh, that's the slide, yeah. Okay. No, previous slide, please. So this is the landing page on buckscounty.org rent help, where you would access the online portal. You'll note that there's information about the program, also the phone number for the BERA helpline, which we have recently established to help people with any questions through the application process. That number is 888-50-BUCKS for the BERA helpline. That's 888-50-BUCKS. And it is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So the maroon apply now sentence will take you to the beginning of the Neighborly portal, and I just wanted to take some time to walk you through it so that tenants and landlords can see the basics of how to apply and the basics about eligibility. So moving on to the next slide. So this is the Neighborly portal. If you're on a smartphone, you'll primarily just see the Housing Link logo there. And then you have an opportunity to either sign in or register. So if you have already begun an application, you can pick it up at any point by signing in. If you're registering for the first time, you provide your email address and a password, and you'll get a verification email from Neighborly. So check spam if you're using that. And there is the opportunity that little icon next to the email address will translate the application into multiple different languages that are used by Bucks County residents, including Spanish, Gujarati, Russian. Next slide. So once you enter into the portal, it's going to start by asking you to either register as a tenant or a landlord. So again, either party can begin the application, and you just choose the appropriate one there to begin. Next slide. So going over the BERA application for tenants, the eligibility is based upon the requirements of the federal law. So at the minimum, this means that you have to be a Bucks County resident with proof of residency. You have to be at or below 80% of the area median income. So for a family of four, this is $77,000, $77,300. You must have qualified for unemployment benefits or experienced a direct or indirect impact from COVID-19, such as a loss of income, an incurred financial hardship, increased expenses, caring for a loved one who is ill, being ill yourself. You must also be at risk of homelessness or housing instability, which is primarily evidenced through having an eviction or late notice or some inability to pay your future rent. The application itself aims to verify eligibility and gather information on the tenant's financial needs by collecting things like identifying information, income documentation, COVID-19 impact information, the specific rent or utility assistance requests from the tenant, and other necessary documents such as the lease and any eviction notice. Once a client's eligibility is established, BERA staff will invite the landlord to join the application to gather the necessary information prior to making a payment. We'll see more about that on the next slide. Here's the BERA application for landlords. If a landlord receives an email invitation as a result of a tenant having first completed an application, there's an opportunity to enter a 5-digit case ID that will be in the email that they receive. And that will connect the landlord's application to the tenant automatically in our system. If you're applying as a landlord without having first been invited by a tenant, you don't enter a case ID, but later in the application, you enter the contact information for all tenants for whom you wish to apply. By uploading ledgers for these tenants, we'll have the information necessary to process their applications after you invite them to apply to the program. This invitation happens automatically after a landlord submits the application. In addition to individual ledgers outlining all rental arrears owed by a given tenant, we also will need contact information and a valid W-9 for the business. Please understand that while landlords can apply, an application cannot be completed without tenant participation due to the requirements of the Treasury. So some landlords have been asking, and essentially we do want and need landlords to apply, but a landlord application in and of itself is not enough to process a payment. We still need the tenant's information because eligibility is tied to the tenant. Also, we would ask that if you're applying as a landlord without a tenant invitation, please do not submit multiple applications, i.e. one application for each tenant. It causes duplication that slows processing time. Rather, it's best to just use this one application, and then later in the process, there's an opportunity to enter all the contact information for the tenants and any ledgers that you have that outline the outstanding arrears. And again, you can always call the BERA helpline at 888-50-BUCKS for any questions or for help through the process. Next slide. So after submission, our BERA staff will begin reviewing the application and will reach out to collect any information needed to complete the file. This will include reaching out to both the tenant and the landlord. It would also include that confirming the amount necessary to satisfy the arrears and prevent the eviction. So a landlord will be notified of the amount that is going to be approved for assistance prior to a check being cut. So that's the process in a nutshell. We know that it's a stressful time for residents and landlords alike, but we just ask for patience as we roll out this project. This is the first public advertisement of the program, but we did do a soft launch that began in the beginning of March, where we began sending out flyers to the magisterial district courts to anyone who has a landlord-tenant complaint that's been filed against them. We already have over 900 applications from tenants alone, as well as hundreds from landlords since that time, so in just about 2 weeks. It takes time to review the applications to ensure that we are in compliance with the Treasury regulations, and we just ask for your patience as we try to process the applications as quickly as possible. And next slide. A couple additional considerations. The BERA helpline and the application, as I mentioned before, are both available in multiple languages. So the helpline has agents that are multilingual and also can use a translation service if necessary, if it's a language that's not natively spoken. We also have alternative application methods available for residents and landlords who can't access the online platform. And for that, you would want to call the BARA helpline at 888-50-BUCKS. And I just wanted to remind residents that there is still a CDC-issued eviction moratorium in effect until the end of March. By providing a declaration to your landlord of your eligibility, it can prevent you from being displaced from your property. Though an eviction action can still be filed, you can't actually be removed from the property through an order of possession. The sample declaration necessary to give to your landlord is on our website at buckscounty.org/renthelp. And updated information will be available if the moratorium is extended past the end of March. Right now, it's unknown whether that will happen or not. So that's an overview of the BARA program and the resources available. Thanks.
Questions? Anybody? I have a question. You mentioned the W-9. If a landlord doesn't have that, is there an alternative they can present to you?
No, a landlord can fill out a W-9 by just going to the IRS
Okay.
website. You can use, if it's a private business, it's your social security number, but we do need to be able to report payments
Okay.
made for tax purposes. But completing a W-9 is not a difficult thing to do.
Right.
Mr. Field, first off, thank you and your staff really for all the work you've been doing. I know this is, you did sort of a soft rollout of this a couple weeks ago, making sure you can take care of any bugs in the system. And it was weeks and weeks ahead of time that you guys were working on this, not to mention all the work you did last year. For this program, in addition to this meeting and obviously the media being here, how else are we sort of getting the word out to people, to tenants and landlords about this program?
So we have a press release it has a lot of this information in it that will go out today. And we, as I mentioned, every single person who has an eviction filed, in addition, while they receive that packet of information, they will receive a flyer that outlines the portal as well as the BARA helpline. And then we'll continue to work with the press and through social media to advertise. But as I mentioned, right now with over 900 applications pending, we were trying to make sure that we didn't overwhelm the system too early, but we will now begin, making press available and advertising the program through various media to make sure that residents are aware of it.
Okay, great, thank you.
But I think the main thing is that those who actually have a filing get a big flyer that, advertises it pretty clear, a full one-page flyer with all the information on. And those would be the folks most at risk because a landlord-tenant complaint has been filed against them.
Thanks.
Questions? Great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Very much.
Thank you for your good work, you and your staff.
I know this is just the beginning, but thank you.
Yeah, I should mention that the American Rescue Plan, the recently practiced legislation, does also include provisions for additional funds. That none of that's been issued yet, but so yes, it did also extend the time frame for this program. So there will be more to come, but this is just the beginning in terms of time frame and funding. So thank you.
Terrific.
Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any online public comment?
No, Commissioner.
Okay, is there any in-person public comment today on agenda items? This is. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from March 3rd and items 1 through 17C? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes. So we are moving on to the regular agenda, number 18, under the Commissioners. This is with Percy Borough, approving a participation in local economic revitalization tax assistance, ALERTA, program for 601 Spruce Street Investment Partners. The ALERTA Tax Abatement District is the tax map parcels 33005, 036001, and 002, as well as 33005, 33005, 107, Hi, Margie, did you want to start this?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. We have invited Steve Barth. He's the Economic Development Consultant for Percy Borough to present on this project. And we're very excited about it. I talked to Andrea from Percy yesterday, the manager. This was on her #1 top list of things to do when she became manager, so we're very excited for them that they're able to get this project off the ground.
Thank you, Mr. Barth, please. We're eager to hear about it.
Well, good morning, and thank you for inviting us today. It's my privilege to speak to you, Commissioners, and Margie, thank you very much. I work as a consultant as Percy's Director of Economic Development, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Borough Council and the Borough Manager, Andrea Coaxum, and our Mayor. But before I talk about the LERTA project, I would like to just express to you, Commissioners, our heartfelt thanks for your COVID relief grants to our small businesses. And roughly more than a dozen of our small businesses received funds from you, and it was a real lifeline, keeping our businesses open. And one of the recipients, a woman-owned business, had called me to say when she opened your email that she had burst into tears because she had had zero income for 6 months, and that the assistance you provided to her, gave her a sense of hope that she will survive, and she is. So I just want to thank you for that. It was an excellent program. On behalf of Percy Borough, we're asking for your support and approval of this LERTA application. It was approved unanimously by the Percy Borough Council and by the Penn Ridge School District School Board Directors. And what we're doing, this is a adaptive reuse of a blighted property that's 2 blocks from our town center. It was an old automotive mirror factory, and it's been vacant for the past 14 years. So this is an unusual LERTA in that there's 2 parcels of land, one seeking the LERTA and one which will be taxable immediately. So the first part of it is the LERTA piece is roughly 100,000 square foot factory spanning 2 blocks, which is going to be converted into 98 kind of Soho-styled apartments. Mr. Ed Moser from the Moser Group is the developer, so he's here, and I hope he can just say a few words to you also. But what we're going to do is the original building was built in 1914, and we're going to strip off the stucco and restore it back to the old brick, put the industrial windows back. It has exposed oak timbers inside, and it's a beautiful, beautiful project. The Moser Group had just completed another project I worked on them with in Hatboro called Jacksonville Green. It's an identical project, almost the same size, and they just won a 2020 Revitalization Award from Montgomery County for that, and that's what they're going to do in Percy. So some of the benefits of this project, it's roughly a $20 million project. It'll be 98 apartment units in the old factory, and then on the vacant lot below, there'll be 10 townhomes. And the 10 townhome piece, part of this project, will create immediate revenue for all the taxing bodies. And so what's going to occur, the current taxes on this property is about $17,000 for everybody. And with the LERTA, this will incentivize the project. When it's completed, it'll be about $250,000 annually in total taxes. And part of the importance of this, creates a lot of, short-term jobs, and Ed will speak to that. But it also, long-term, creates a lot of new earned income tax revenue to both the school district and the borough. And then we've been revitalizing our downtown. We've opened over 50 new businesses. We just opened a rooftop restaurant next to Borough Hall, and we're opening 2 new microbreweries this year, which I think will make us have the most breweries of any Bucks County town, which is exciting. We're seeking your support. They will begin this project end of April or the beginning of May, and it'll probably be about 1.5 to 2 years for completion to that. I don't know if there are any questions, or if I could invite Ed up just to tell you about the job creation.
We'd love to hear from Ed. This is pretty exciting to listen to. I love the idea. Can't wait to see it.
This is Ed Moser from the Moser Group.
Welcome, Ed.
Welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'd like to thank you for taking time to consider our request. We are a local company based outside of Chalfont, and we've been in business for about 30 years in the home building and remodeling restoration. This is our second project that's similar. Like Steve talked about, we just finished Jacksonville Green, and we received a LERTA there. And just like the Del Bar property, there's environmental concerns and cleanup and remediation. We had that at Hatboro. And it never goes according to budget. You always find more, as you know, than what's out there. So this would really give us a little bit of a cushion to be able to do that. And also trying to adapt a factory into living units and the way the buildings are built, we always run into cost overruns. But when it's finished, it's going to look really kind of interesting because the buildings are from 5 different time periods, so they're going to be restored in 5 different phases. You know, the earliest building was in 1920 and all brick, so right now the building's covered with stucco. It's all going to be removed and all big glass windows and stuff. So it is really interesting, but it's a lot of work. It's about a two-year project. Our 7 prime contractors are all from Bucks County, from Bristol to Quakertown, Warminster. They're from all over the county, and it's going to provide some nice employment for these people now. So once the project is complete, our company manages it, and we plan on holding on to the project as an asset for the future. So.
Terrific. Are there questions from the board, or?
No?
I think we're stunned, but we're excited, and thank you. We appreciate your coming here and sharing this, because it's important to watch these things happen and to understand why this LERD is important.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you. We'll be up to see it. Let us know.
it. I will.
And as we move on to general services, the first 3 contracts are A, B, and C are with Guy M. Cooper out of Willow Grove. Approving a mechanical contract for the 5th floor Justice Center build-out in the amount of $215,000. Approving a plumbing contract for the 5th floor Justice Center build-out in the amount of $133,000. And approving the fire protection contract for the 5th floor Justice Center build-out at $123,000. And D is Next Gen Security out of Exton, PA, and approving a security electronics contract for the 5th floor Justice Center build-out in the amount of $157,735. And Bernard Griggs is here to just kind of give us a quick update on what this all is and what we're doing, and appreciate your being here for this. Oh, while you're walking up, I forgot, E, TE Construction Services, this is probably pretty important, out of Warminster. This is approving the general construction contract for the 5th floor Justice Center build-out in the amount of $3,778,000. That's important, right?
That's the big one, Commissioner.
Yeah,
Thank you
didn't want to miss
for
that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here this morning to give you an update and basically discuss the project here. But before I do, I think it's important to note that the Justice Center 5th floor build-out project is a project that has been on the books for quite some time here at the county, long before I became employed with the county here. And recently, due to the ongoing collaborative effort of the county team working in collaboration with the professional consultants and everybody involved, we're able to move the project forward. The 5th floor build-out is essentially a complete build-out of a section of space on the 5th floor at the Justice Center building. An area that was never finished during the original construction of the building, but needless to say, it is an area that needs to be fit out today. So some of the features include, but are certainly not limited to, the complete build-out of 1 ceremonial courtroom, 1 jury courtroom, 3 jury deliberation rooms, 1 hearing room, 2 conference rooms, 3 holding cells, and some of the other features that would be included with, corridors and some of the other miscellaneous spaces. And then the partial build-out of 1 non-jury courtroom and the partial build-out also of another jury courtroom. And so construction will begin on around May 10th. It will run for about 48 weeks, just about a year duration of construction, and is going to be a night work project. Essentially, the construction schedule and work will be done during the hours of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. Now, keeping that in mind, being a nighttime project, part of the reason this next thing I'm going to get into is why we didn't receive any electrical bids is we were hearing some of the feedback from contractors that had originally received plans considering bidding it the first time around. We're kind of discouraged due to the fact that not only do they have work on the books that I guess they just didn't really need to work, but being a nighttime project is pretty challenging to get people to want to work and, to take away from their family and that kind of thing during the hours when you should be sleeping. So that said, we did not receive electrical bids the first time around, so we're in the process of rebidding electrical only. Advertisement went out. There's a mandatory pre-bid next week, a week from today, next Wednesday, and bids will be due on April the 26th with an award of the electrical, assuming you award it, on May the 19th. Now, all that said, I think it's also important to note that, even though electric isn't being awarded with these contracts that are being awarded here today, isn't going to interrupt our schedule whatsoever, because we believe that the electrical component of it, we're able to start the project in light of the fact that some of the electrical components are already in there, and we already have temporary electric and temporary lighting in the bigger area where it gets the complete build out. So we're moving it forward. It's looking good.
Thank
So
you.
It's going to be a nice project.
Thank you. And
Be happy to answer any
I am
questions
sure the
if you have.
judges are going to be very happy with this. I know sometimes they cannot get, courtroom space, so this is going to make a difference, and it would keep people safer in COVID times with some space. Any questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard.
Also under General Services, we have the United Liberian Association of Bucks County, Levittown, approved the rental of the county property located at 6100 Mill Creek Road in Levittown. And I am going to ask Commissioner DiGirolamo to talk about this and to introduce our guests.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are a couple people I'd like to recognize. Would it be okay to
Absolutely.
bring them up? One is from the Bucks County Liberian Association, Isaac. Isaac, would you like to come up to the microphone? And also Pete McElroy, who's our asset manager in the Department of General Services. And I don't know if appropriate, Kevin, let Pete maybe just talk a little bit about. Pete, come on up. We did just briefly describe the property and then and what it is, and then I'm going to let maybe Isaac say a few words as well.
Commissioner, we have a small residential type property at 6100 Mill Creek Road down in Bristol Township that the county has historically rented out as a private residence. It came to be that the property is up in age, and General Services took it upon a complete renovation of that property in the last couple of years. Isaac came along, and we, through discussions with yourself and commissioners, found that this would be an excellent location for the group as to. I'll let Isaac talk a little bit about the specifics of that.
Yep.
And
Isaac, before, Isaac, I've known Isaac for a long time. The Liberian Association here in Bucks County are just a group of just wonderful, wonderful people. I believe that there's probably around 6,000 to 7,000 Liberians that live in Bucks County and call Bucks County home now. And for those of you that don't know about Liberia, it is a small country in Africa that unfortunately just went through a terrible, horrific civil war for about 13 years that really disrupted the lives of many of the people who lived there. And some of them found their way here to America and now call Bucks County home. And I've attended many of their functions throughout the years, and they are just such wonderful people and just so family-oriented. And we talked about taking care of the old people and the young people. And this facility that they are now going to occupy, I think we'll let Isaac explain what they're going to call it, the community center. And I think the focus of what they're going to do is programs, especially for the children. Many of the children, because of the Civil War, were not able to go to school for long periods of time, and I guess depended on getting the little bit of education that they got from being in the home or for wherever they could get it. So a lot of them are like behind because of their age and schooling. So this community center is going to be used for literacy, after-school programs, educational programs, tutoring, career development, and also focusing on the senior citizens and many programs for the senior citizens in the Liberian Bucks County community. So I think it's going to be a big asset for our county, and I am just thrilled to death that it is finally, and Isaac talked to me about this maybe 4 or 5 years ago, about the dream, I guess, of having some type of community center. And I think today it's the start of the dream coming true. So I'm going to let Isaac speak a little bit.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, members of the Board of Commissioners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for this invitation. I'm honored to be here with you. My name is Isaac Juniors, as Jane has already said, and I do not want to belabor the point as to why we want to, we got this building, or that you gave us this building. There are so many activities that we can do in that building. About 14 years ago, we partnered with the Catholic Church, where they gave us a place in their building where we were tutoring our kids. Like Jane said, they come from Liberia, West Africa. Because of the war, most of them were behind in their education. So when they come here, because of their ages, they put it into higher grades, and they couldn't cope with the studies. So we're helping them to tutor them after school. We're getting our seniors, bringing them to that spot to just do some programs specific to their needs culturally. But when the Catholic Church went, I should say, broke or financially constrained, they took the place, and we could no longer do those programs. And so we've been talking to folks in the community, local government officials, to give us a place where we could resume these programs for our kids and for our seniors. And so we talked to Jean about a couple of years ago, and we are so happy and excited. And I've come on behalf of the community to express our profound gratitude to all of you, to you, commissioners, and other people in Bucks County, for giving us this place. This has been a dream long in waiting, and we are definitely going to utilize this place. As Jean has said, there are so many things that we can do with our community which we could not do because we didn't have the place to do them. And so I want to thank you so much for this place, and we'll use it. Sometimes we invite some of you to come and see what we're doing there, so you can see our people, see what we do with our kids and our seniors. So thank you so much, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're thrilled to let you use our county resource. That's what they're there for.
And if I might, I mean, this has been a project that we worked on together. Margie was a big part of it, and certainly my fellow commissioners here. I mean, we all worked on this together and saw the worth and the value in doing this. And I want to thank also Pete, who's up there, McElroy from DGS, and Kevin Spencer, who's the director from DGS. Thank you both for your hard work in making this a reality, and also the nice people in Bristol Township for the, for the part that they played in making sure that this became a reality. So a lot of people working together. So.
And I can say Pete was a very wonderful person to work with. So many times I bothered him, but he was very patient and, worked with me. So I am very happy. Pete, thank you so much for all you did.
Thank you, that's great. Next is under the Health Department, FWPA Warwick Plaza LLC out of Jacksonville, Florida. This is approval of a lease agreement to allow use of the former Giant grocery store for public vaccination clinics in the amount of $53,150. And Margie McKevitt was going to give us an update on this.
So I'm just going to briefly talk about that. I'm going to ask Kevin to give some specifics about the site itself. But this is the former Giant Market on York Road in Warwick Township. We're working with Warwick Township along with our General Services Department. It is about 30,000 square feet of space. It will allow for our health department to administer about 2,000 vaccinations a day. Our General Services staff is preparing the site so that Warwick Township can come in and inspect and give us an occupancy permit. Hopefully, our goal is, and Kevin, you'll speak more to this, but our goal is early April, if possible, if we can get all the pieces together and get the occupancy permit. But I'm gonna ask Kevin if he can give some more details about the actual space itself.
Certainly. The spaces, as Margie mentioned, was the old Giant down on York Road in Jamison, Warwick area. It's about 30,000 square feet that they're going to be leasing. I know this has kind of been a very great collaborative effort because I know, George Wilson, Audrey Kenny, the staff from Emergency Management, Dr. Damsker, Fallon, Drew, I think Jason also from Health. We had a number of meetings down there. We were down there last Friday morning, just kind of figuring out what their needs are going to be. Our electricians are down there this morning, as Margie mentioned. Our HVAC team was down there last week. There's been the old over 100-plus ton HVAC rooftop unit that's on the building that kind of handles the main space. Hasn't run in probably 2 or 3 years since they vacated that building. So it's a testament to our skilled staff that we have in general services. They went right out there, took a look at it, knew exactly what they needed to do to assess the unit, lubricate it, do some maintenance items on it. As of last Friday, it's up and running with, and 2 of the compressors are going to do some things to fix 2 of the other compressors. But in speaking with the building owner just this last week, he was really impressed. So we're in the process of just getting all the systems right now up and running, the HVAC, the electrical, making sure they have the lighting that they're going to need. We've been working with both health and emergency management on the layout of that. Our staff is, we're in the process of either evaluating a lease versus a purchase of certain items, whether it's tables, rentals, chairs, carpet runners. As you can imagine, when the grocery store kind of left, all the walls where the refrigeration units were, they're basically open right now. So we're working out how to kind of make this shell of a space look as nice as we can, as quickly as we can, so that the health department can get in there and kind of operate this as a vaccination clinic. So we are targeting towards the end, basically the 29th is what we've been targeting as kind of our kind of startup date, kind of getting everything in place so that early April, health and emergency management will be ready to go. So thank you.
Great. Now we just need lots of doses of vaccine,
exactly
right? and we're going to count on that. Thank you. Let's turn the page. Next, from the Planning Commission, we have 2 items, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia County. We are approving an intergovernmental agreement to continue with regional household hazardous waste collection and with MXI Environmental Services out of Abingdon, Virginia, approving a contract increase and extension for household hazardous waste services in the amount of $350,000. And Deanna Miller from our Planning Commission and our recycling coordinator is here. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. So yeah, we have 2 items on the agenda for consideration today. The first is an intergovernmental agreement between the 5 Southeast regional counties, Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, Delaware, and Philadelphia. This is an agreement between the 5 of us to create a regional program. So essentially, we're allowing residents from the 4 other counties to attend our events, and our residents are able to go to any of the events with the 4 other counties. So we hold 5 events each year, and with this, there's over 20 events that our residents are able to go to each year. That is separate from our contract with MXI, which is the second item that is up for consideration. So we are looking to amend the contract with MXI. The original contract allows for 3 one-year extensions, so we would be accessing the first of the 3 extensions. So we worked with them last year. They're a great vendor. We really, they do a great job. They always leave the site clean, and we are hoping to extend that contract for the next year.
Okay, any questions for Deanna? Questions?
No, thank you very much.
Have you set dates for the whole rest of the year? And
Yes, so actually, all of that is also, it's on the flyer there, and it's also available on our website, buckscounty.org/recycle. And I do just want to point out that continuing with COVID regulations, we do have a limit. We're working with the outdoor occupancy limits set by the state. So we are requiring residents to register for these events. The information is all on the website, but we do have a registration through Eventbrite that residents can register for free and take a time slot. That way we know how many people will be at the event and at the site at a time.
Are the other counties also listed on there or just Bucks?
Yeah, we have the other counties there too.
Terrific. All right. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Is there a motion to approve 18? Oh, look at, right there it is, workforce development. Thank you. Looking right at it. Final contract is with Workforce and Economic Development, Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development in Harrisburg. We are approving the transfer of Act 1 funding for the COVID-19 Hospitality Industry Recovery Program in the amount of $7,116,015. Margie, are you going to give an update on
Just
that?
say quickly, this is just acceptance of the grant that we spoke of at the last meeting. It's lovingly referred to as the CHIRP grant that our Bucks County Economic Development Corporation and Redevelopment Authority and our Visit Bucks County folks are working on with our Workforce and Economic Development staff, specifically Deanna Giorno. They have already started to receive applications for funding grants, and the grants will be decided and determined before June.
Before June, okay. Any questions, commissioners? Okay, I think we've got it all now. So is there a motion to approve on the regular agenda, items 18 through 22?
So moved.
And this would include also our minutes. I don't think, we did the minutes on the other one. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And on budget adjustments, Mr. Boscola.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Budget adjustment number 4 for 2021 would recognize the revenue and allow for the expenditure of the hospitality grant that was just approved, item number 22A.
Okay, so this is the CHIRP grant. Okay. Is there a motion to approve this budget adjustment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions in front of us today? I'll make the motion. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll make the motion to approve the personnel actions.
Okay, second.
Okay. Any questions on any of them? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Board appointments. Commissioner Harvey, do we have any today?
Just one to the Children and Youth Advisory Board, 3-year term to Ms. Elizabeth Montanari. Term will end 3/1/2024.
Okay. Is that in form of a motion?
I'm sorry, yes.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And are there any other civics? I do not have any.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
I guess it was last month, we were lucky enough to have some young people here from the 4-H Club along with their furry friends. So we do have a history of donating to the Bucks County 4-H in the amount of $1,200. So I have a couple of these. I'll put them all in one motion if that's okay.
Sure.
The Bucks County Association of the Blind, $1,600. The Coalition to Shelter and Support the Homeless, $1,000. And to the Health Link, $4,000.
Terrific. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. And our Chief Operating Officer's report.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just have a couple of items related to our COVID response. If you haven't read in the news, the U.S. Treasury is going to be issuing funding for the stimulus program. Our county is anticipated to receive about $122 million to continue our efforts in response and recovery to COVID-19. We're looking at some ways to use this funding, certainly to continue our response with our health department and our emergency management agency together. We're looking at potentially purchasing, with the commissioner's approval, of course, mobile vaccination vehicles, offering free transportation to folks that don't otherwise have the means to get to our vaccination sites. We are working with Bucks Transport on that project, and then also increasing capacity for our homeless folks. We're going to be working with Jeff and his staff and purchasing test kits and our continued response to COVID-19. So these are some of the things that we're working on. With the CARES funding that we received, we broke that down in spending into about 6 categories. And working backwards here, we spent about 1% of the $109 million we received on 2020 election preparation and processing. 1% on reimbursements to municipal governments for PPE and technology. About 15% of it was put towards our nonprofits in the county and public schools for housing, education, and human services efforts. We spent about 24% on PPE, sanitization materials, and social distancing equipment and related projects in the county and outside of the county in our nonprofit agencies. And then 27% was allocated towards economic stabilization activities, which included our Bucks Back to Work grants and PPE for our businesses. And about 32% was allocated towards county staff substantially dedicated and overtime expenses towards COVID. And though that money that we captured, a particular note is that it was permitted for counties to use by the Treasury to recapture those salaries of the substantially dedicated and overtime expenses, that we could use that beyond that deadline of December 30th. So that funding will go towards continued efforts to support our COVID-related response activities. And that concludes my report today.
Well, thank you. Any questions for Margie? Okay, and our solicitor's report?
Thank you, Commissioner. So as we look back at 1 year of losing loved ones and members of the community to the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm sorry to say that as we look at consumer complaints, an area that we have seen a substantial increase has been in the funeral and burial services area. There have been instances of people who have prepaid for funerals that have not gone as planned, or have ordered tombstones or monuments that have not been delivered as planned. And fortunately, our incredible staff in the Consumer Protection Department has been working very hard to address these concerns and these complaints. I know our district attorney, Matt Weintraub, was here earlier for the meeting, and his office has worked extremely well with consumer protection in instances where there may be an appropriate referral for criminal action. But in the meantime, we do want the word to get out that if these sorts of problems happen when people are obviously in a very vulnerable state of mind. It's not at a time when people are really thinking about all of their rights. And if you feel that you have been victimized or have been treated unfairly, we do encourage you to reach out to our Consumer Protection Hotline, which is 1-800-942-2669. The email address is consumerprotection@buckscounty.org. And for those of you following on Twitter, the Twitter handle is @BucksConsumer, which often has really good information letting people know what their rights are. Thank you.
Any questions for the solicitor? Thank you. Commissioner comments. Commissioner DiGirolamo, any comments today?
Just a couple. First, I want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day. And as Larry King pointed out to me this morning, that today's the day I can move the O at the end of my name and put it at the front of my name, and you can call me O DiGirolamo. Anyway, I just couldn't help but thinking, and I really wasn't going to say too much today, but when Isaac got up from the Liberian Association, and it just made me think of my grandparents, who all four of them were immigrants. All four came from Italy well over 100 years ago, and that we are a nation of immigrants. And one way or another, all of us here and all over and through the whole country, the parents or grandparents or great-great-great-great-parents came from somewhere. And we're a nation of immigrants. And, I'm thinking of, I just can't help but think of Ronald Reagan. And, Ronald Reagan's like a Republican icon. And he was the last president that actually had a comprehensive immigration reform plan and law passed here in the United States that was actually amnesty. I mean, immediately. I mean, it made citizens, I forget how many people, and I thought it was like 3 or 4 million people that were here undocumented that he made citizens. And, how long, it's been 20, 40 years since that has passed. And now, the new president, Joe Biden, has proposed a immigration reform plan again in Washington. And, you look at the details of it. It's not amnesty. There is initially a 5-year period with people that have been here undocumented for, I believe it starts with, it ends at the end of the year 2019, that have been here before that. And it's estimated that there's about maybe 11 million people in this country that have been here, many of them for a long time, and are undocumented. So the plan would not give them citizenship, but would give them legal status. And there's all kinds of different things that have to be accomplished. You can't be in trouble, you can't be convicted of a crime. And during that 5-year period, it's kind of like I guess kind of like awaiting people that, they're going to be able to get a driver's license, they're going to start paying taxes. They get in trouble, there's going to be a process where, they're going to take that legal status away from them. And then after that 5-year period, I believe there's like another 3-year period before they can actually attain citizenship. And to me, this is something that's reasonable to consider for our country. And I really do believe that it's reasonable. Now, I understand to get something like this done, that there's probably going to have to be changes made. It's going to have to be absolutely a bipartisan bill where it's just not going to take Democratic votes, but Republicans are going to have to work with the president and the Democrats to try to make something like this happen. And there was a time in the George Bush administration, as I remember, when there were a group of Democrats and Republicans that were trying to work on a comprehensive immigration reform plan. And some of the Republican members are still, Lindsey Graham, I believe, was actually one of them that was working, and with his good friend John McCain as well. And they were trying to come up with something that would get bipartisan support and be able to get passed. And I think that's what it's going to take this time for something like that to pass. But I think it's well past time that we consider this, we start working on it together. I can't imagine that it's going to be the exact bill that the president has put out there, but I think it could be something similar. An 8-year path to citizenship. To me, that seems reasonable. It's something that we might be able to work together on. So I just wanted to mention that, and I wanted again to thank Isaac and his group and association for being here today, and just very excited about what we did here today for them. Thank you.
Perfect comments for today. That's been great. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you. I wanted to talk about, had an email this morning from somebody who wasn't really complaining, but just pointing out the fact that they stumbled across something on social media about things we'd done in the county over the past year especially. And they were saying to you, I didn't know you did all these things. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of good things going on at the county, but I'm not hearing anything about it. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with the fact that over the past 14 months, there have been a couple of things that have really stolen all the oxygen out of the room when it comes to, the news and what's on the front page. I think this meeting today, not that it's tremendously different from some of the others we've had, but there's a lot of things in here that we've done which really, are proud things to do. In addition to working with the Liberian community to give them a place that they can use, working toward the end of COVID through opening up or starting the process of looking at a 6th vaccination site, working on ways to help keep people in their homes and apartments, working on ways to make sure that businesses can continue to function, A few months ago, we approved a KOIZ status for a large industrial area in Falls Township to, help them bring industry in. And today, we look at one of our boroughs and do something very similar to help them move things forward. And so there's a lot of things that I'm skipping over some things just because of not wanting to go through the entire agenda completely. But there is a lot of things that I think we all should be proud of. And one of the things that I think needs to get a little bit more attention, and we were just talking this morning about it, is over the past week or so, our Department of Health here in Bucks County has gone out to various sites all over the county in what are known as strike teams, what we're calling strike teams. And these are teams of our staff as well as volunteers from our Medical Reserve Corps who are going to different housing facilities in Bucks County, especially ones that have elderly populations. Some of them are part of the Bucks County Housing Authority itself, others are not, and really trying to focus on those vulnerable populations who have difficulty getting to our vaccination sites. And these strike teams go to the location. They go there. They went usually a week ahead of time to scout out and plan. They show up. Just yesterday, they were at a facility in Middletown called Shanti Gardens, and they vaccinated in the span of several hours. They were there. They vaccinated about 300 people. People who, many of them didn't speak English because it was a heavy Indian population at that particular facility. It's not technically a nursing home or long-term care facility, and so it wouldn't have been part of the first wave of vaccinations that happened earlier this year through the federal partnership. And in some ways, you could argue that because of language barriers and age and maybe not as much mobility or access to the internet, it would be difficult for that group of people to be able to make it to one of our 3 sites or to even know how to register. And so we're sending teams out to actually go to them and bring the vaccine to them. And then, of course, we'll go back for second doses in a few weeks. And that's continuing. It started last week. There were maybe 4 different locations last week, hitting another, several locations this week. Almost every day, they're a different location to really deliver this vaccine. By our count, we are at approximately 21% of adults in Bucks County have received at least 1 dose. It's possible the number could be higher. That's the number we get from the Department of Health, or Pennsylvania Department of Health. Anybody who's gone to a different state, for example, to get a vaccine, it's not clear if our Department of Health would know that, if the New Jersey Department of Health would share that with us. So, and obviously being where we are in this county, being across the river from New Jersey, we know there's a fair number of our residents who are doing that. So, but we are certainly doing a tremendous amount here. Would we love to be out of this, awful time period and moving on with other things that we want to accomplish? Absolutely. Everybody would. Everybody would. But we are getting close. And we're just asking for some patience as we continue. The more vaccine we get, the more shots we can put in arms. So our 4th site opened up over the weekend in Chamonix Mall. And we know we have one in Quakertown that we can open up when we have more vaccine, and now the one today, the 6th one. So that's, we are moving forward as fast as we're able to. So, and I want to obviously comment on the St. Patrick's Day. Both, I'm more of a mutt than Mr. DiGirolamo is. So while I have Italian background as well as Scottish and English and German, most of my background is Irish on both sides of my family. And we always focus, of course, on what it means to be Irish here in America. Irish is one of the biggest ethnicities in this country, percentage-wise. And certainly if we did a show of hands, I'm sure that we'd probably have about half the room would have some Irish ancestry, and there's a very good chance that even the people that wouldn't have their hand up, if we did some digging into their background, they might actually find that they did have some Irish ancestry. It's not unusual to find that. We always, but several years ago, my parents had a chance to travel to Ireland. Not exactly world travelers, my parents. I think my father, was probably the first time he'd ever left the continent when he went to Ireland. And they left, and I've gotten to the habit of telling this story on St. Paddy's Day, even though it starts off not talking at all about, it's not all about St. Patrick's Day. But they left along with, relatives and friends, part of one of the organized trips of people that go over and do the bus tours and things like that. They left Newark Airport on September 10th, 2001. They were in Ireland less than 24 hours when the news of the terrorist attacks reached them. Their immediate concern was, how do we get home? They didn't want to stay in Ireland. They wanted to be home. And they began looking for ways to get home. And all of them, aunts and uncles and other friends who were on the trip with them, they looked at, is it possible, because don't forget, all air travel was closed in this country. So they looked at the possibility of flying to Canada and renting cars to drive home. They looked at, a couple of them even looked at cruise ships. And they were trying all these different avenues over the course of a few hours and a day. And they realized that, well, we're not going to be able to do this. We came to this country, to Ireland, a country that, obviously knew from movies and from, legend, but never had been to before. And they were going to be there for a couple weeks. And they ended up obviously having to stay. And what they found as they started this trip, the organized sort of part of their journey, the outpouring of good wishes from the Irish people just stunned them. Everywhere they went, when people found out they were American, all they could, it was just, is your family okay? Or is everybody all right? And all your friends, and we're so sorry about what's happened. They talked about driving through the countryside, the sort of, idyllic, stereotypical little, stone walls and little white cottages with thatched roofs out in the middle of the green fields with the sheep. And there was a picture of that. But there'd be this little cottage and an American flag hanging out of the window. And they'd all look and wonder how, in the middle of Ireland, in this little village, were there American flags that people just had ready to put out. When they were in Dublin, they wanted to sort of just see the embassy, the American embassy. They weren't able to get close to it. Not necessarily because of security, but because of the tens of thousands of flowers and stuffed animals and balloons and candles that the Irish people had left in front of the building, that you couldn't even get close to it. It was really something that was incredibly moving to them. And it sort of changed their perspective of what it meant to be Irish. And they said that if they couldn't be home during that time period when they were so nervous, at least they were in Ireland, and they felt better. And so I think about that, when what it means to be Irish and the history, the difficult and sad but proud history of the people that came here, like my ancestors, who weren't wanted. I used to surprise my students when I'd ask them how many of them were Irish, and their hands would go up. And I'd say, I'd tell them, I said, well, when your family came here, you're scum. Nobody wants you. And they'd recoil and not understand. And I'd let them know that a lot of the comments and commentary you hear today from some of the people who are against different immigrant groups is not new commentary. All of it was thrown at the Irish. And it puts it in perspective. And so thank you for giving me a chance to, and actually, the one thing they brought me this tie from Ireland. That was, that was the one thing that, the trip, when they did come home, happy to be home. But, it was something that was very memorable to them and memorable to me, even though I wasn't with them. But it's certainly something always keeps in my mind and makes me proud of one of the many reasons to be proud of my heritage. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's an important story. I just have two quick things that have to do with the COVID vaccine. We just wanted to let everybody know if you're on the pre-registration list, to keep an eye on your junk mailbox as well as your inbox. We are finding that we are not getting as many people registering as we would have expected, and so sometimes we're wondering if that's where things are landing. We would also ask that if you have gotten a vaccine elsewhere, which is the other option of why not everybody's signing up, could you go on the website and update your application so that we know that you already got the vaccine at a hospital or somewhere else? That allows us to move other people up the list and for them to get a vaccine. So thank you for that. Is there any public comment online?
No, Commissioner.
Any public comment in the room? Seeing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.